Yeah, that's kind of, I think part of that is too, is because, after that time frame is kind of when people started monetizing it more. So it became even easier for, like before, I feel like the people that played video games all day were like the younger generation that had the time to play it all day. And now, like, if you can get paid for it, someone's like, oh, I don't like my job. If I can
Yeah,
get
and
good at this game.
it pissed me off too because I quit. Like I had sold my PC. I had just established that I wanted a real life. I just wanted to talk to people and make friends and talk to women. I couldn't do that sitting at my computer all day downing a fucking 12 pack of Mountain Dew. So I just sold my computer, and then like a couple months later, it's like, oh, Fortnite World Cup, $1 million. I'm like, nice, yeah.
What was that? Was there like a transition? Because I remember like even like 20, like after 2020 and everyone was like in lockdown and came out, like getting back to being social with people wasn't the easiest. Did you find like when you stepped away from video games that there was like a process of that, or did it come pretty naturally?
Yeah, so it was less talking to people and more finding myself. The people come naturally that you attract. So I stopped the gaming and I just got into school. Or I got into school and then out of school real quick. But I started talking. I just started trying to figure myself out, what style I was going for. That time was like the whole streetwear thing with the Yeezys and the Ultra Boost and the NMDs. I was rocking those. I love shoes to this day. That found that. I just try to find my place in society because that 3 years from boarding school into the gaming, I didn't know what life was. I was very lost, and I ended up getting a sports car, and that gave me like a big ego, and I thought I was the shit or walked around like it, maybe not necessarily thought I was. And it was a whole learning process, but I caught up in a year. It was kind of all just thrown at me, and I had to go through the motions.
No, yeah, like people don't realize how difficult that is, whether it's, I grew up homeschooled like all throughout. I mean, I played ball for like a high school,
Yeah.
but going from like a non-typical education approach and then having to simulate with like the rest of the world, there's like a,
Mm.
a few hurdles. Like you don't really know how shit works when you're first getting out there.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know how people operate. You don't want to insult anyone. You just kind of you're on your own, low key. You got to figure it out by yourself. Thankfully, I found good friends quick, and they helped me with a lot of it. I was able to jump right into like social areas
Then
that
yeah.
I, yeah,
Yeah, you mentioned another interesting thing you mentioned earlier was just like where Christian music was at back then, because I kind of had a similar upbringing where I was only allowed to listen to Christian music, and Lecrae was actually one of the artists I listened to. I hadn't heard that name in a long time. I thought the Rebel album was like one of the hardest rap albums.
dude. At the time, without hearing any other music, I thought he was the best artist in the world. Like he's all right, or at
Yeah,
least
I mean that's yeah,
you wouldn't catch me listen to it now. I'm,
yeah,
I'm still Christian to this day, but I'm not gonna listen to that. I don't know, not me.
yeah. No, and I think it's kind of developed too, where artists in that zone have become a lot better about like I think as a lot of artists have like you can have your niche, but finding ways that your niche can attract like a wider crowd. Like I don't know if you've ever listened to NF, but
Yeah,
he's technically like a Christian artist, but like you could listen to his music and not know that. Like
he has his moments though. He
yeah,
he
he
has
has his
he has some
moments.
pretty weird moments.
Yeah, but his production and like I don't know, maybe it's just how I listen to it, but like the quality of his production and just like the way he carries himself. Like I know so many people that didn't even know that he was a Christian artist just because
Yeah.
of like he's been on the radio a lot. And
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
they're definitely. I see them all over TikTok now. There's definitely a lot coming out that are taking a more mainstream flow to things and using lyrics that hide the message instead of directly portraying it. So
rub it
it's
in
not
the
a
quotes.
gospel song, but
Yeah,
it's getting there.
and I think we have to thank Kanye for that. No,
There's a little before Kanye, unfortunately.
no, just kidding.
Yeah.
But I think there's those other things where they just like take a song that like I saw. Did you see this Shabuzi song that was like all over social media that people were just like changing the lyrics to like Christian lyrics instead of
No, I
like
didn't.
no?
No,
All right,
I
well, I might
missed
have
that.
to send you the video. It's bad, but
Okay.
anyways, so you get out of the Christian. Sorry, that was a little bit of a rabbit hole. But anyways, you get out of the Christian music scene and find uh Slime Life and Young Thug, for Young Thug.
Yeah, for
What
young.
was some of the other artists around that time that you started listening to?
Man, honestly, I I couldn't tell you. It's like my mom would listen to like all the old music the same as my dad, like not even bands. I don't remember what was going on at that time period. I was just kind of left out of everything. I didn't know. I don't think I was listening to really anything else. I had oh no, Khaled came right after. Khaled was coming. I actually have an old playlist. I got to go find it. But that was like the whole living a good life on a good fight. That was like the whole time period that was coming out.
Yeah, and that so before after that, when was the coma that you mentioned?
That was 2020 or 2021. I don't really remember. That's why COVID was a lot different for me than most people.
You
Everyone was
skip part
like,
of it?
everyone was inside because of COVID. I was inside because I couldn't walk. You know, there was like, I could walk, but I would get dizzy because I messed up my inner ear bones. And when you mess those up, it messes up your equilibrium. So I ended up laying down for a really long time. And, that was, yeah, I was on the way home and I had a beach trip the next day. So I was gonna be out of town the next day. I shouldn't have even been where I was, but I was talking to a DJ about doing a show. And then apparently I went off the road. I don't remember it. Apparently I went off the road, hit a couple trees, and then a nurse was driving in the car behind me and stopped on my bleeding, and they got me to the hospital in critical. Then I woke up a couple days later.
Oh.
But
And
yeah,
how long was that healing process? Like, how long were you in the hospital for that period of time?
in the hospital, I was only in the hospital for a week because they had done the surgery. The only bones that I broke that like hindered me at all was this arm. You can't really see it, but they had to rebuild my arm, um, and then obviously my ear. But with that situation, it's kind of like you got to let it heal on its own. You know, being in the hospital won't do anything. They gave me the blood I needed, and what else do I need? You know, I scratched my retina. That hurt, but
Oh yeah.
it's not like sitting in the hospital would help me.
Right.
And
It'd
my
be
brain
nice.
bleeding had already stopped, so there was no point of keeping me there.
Yeah. How long was it, would you say, before you felt like your arm was back to where it was before?
It's still not where it was. I don't think my arm will ever be where it was unless I go to like some rehab or something, which I don't want to do.
Yeah.
Or get back into the gym heavy, which is kind of it. It works and then it doesn't work at the same time because it hurts, but it helps. I could tell. I got back in a couple months ago for a little bit, and I was probably there for like a month and a half before I ended up the car problems. The arm is feeling better, and then now with I'm working a serving job on the side, it's uh it's getting back there. I just don't know if it'll ever be back to where it was.
Okay. Yeah. That's a tough thing to manage too. Like, people don't realize how much lifting and walking around servers have to do to like get you like it's not considered like manual labor, but having to carry those whatever it is, like whether it's trays or whatever it
Yeah, the
is,
serving trays with like 8 plates on them, and I work in the busy. I work at BB King's. It's the
yeah,
busiest restaurant in Memphis. It's a tourist spot. It's good money, but dude, I'm carrying a tray over my head with like 6, 7 plates on, going upstairs. It's like I'm like a little wobbly. I'm worried about dropping it. You know.
yeah. No, that is a really busy area. I was down there. I'm from Minnesota, and the Wolves played the Grizzlies like 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I don't know in the playoffs. So I like drove to that game, and that's a cool like the music scene down there is kind of cool. It felt a little
Yeah, it still has the blues. You know.
yeah
And my family, like I said, my family was a big part of that for many years. So it's cool to be able to kind of see the remnants of what remains. You know, there are some killer musicians there, stuff that I'll never be able to do. They got me beat. They know what they're doing.
yeah. No, and I feel like they've kind of sustained it. Like I feel not to like hate on like what Nashville is now, but Nashville isn't like whereas Memphis kind of has maintained like the blues atmosphere. I feel like not that Nashville has lost it, but I feel like they're like the country aspect of Nashville is kind of going away.
Yeah, it's going away because everything is becoming more mainstream, and LA is not LA. So with LA not being LA, in Nashville and Austin and Vegas, I think a little bit too, Atlanta, those being the new prime spots. You know, everything's breaking out of LA and coming to places like that. So when you have that big break off, you're gonna see a shift in everything, shift in economy, shift in tourism, shift in the music. That's where the industry is now. They all went to Nashville. Actually, I don't even think I've met like a country singer full in Nashville. It's all been like rappers and pop and all that. Well, no, there has been women country singers and Struggle Jennings. Struggle Jennings does country.
Yeah. I last time I was out there, I went out for like a buddy's birthday for like a weekend, and I heard "Last Night" by Morgan Wallen, and that was the only country song. And it's like,
Yeah, yeah, it's love it now, buddy.
do you think that when you have all those spaces where all the artists are moving out, do you think that creates a better opportunity for smaller artists, or do you think it diversifies it too much where it makes it harder for smaller artists?
So I think if you're in my position, if you're on your own and don't know anyone and are trying to break in into a network where you can meet people, the know a guy way of networking, it's not going to be easy. It'll be very, very difficult, but you can do it. You just got to meet the right person and have the right first impression. Me, in my situation, I'm blessed enough to know some good people down there already. I have a good friend of mine named Colin. He's a goat. He'll introduce me to everyone just because he's a good guy, and I love him and appreciate him for that. And Grant introduced my friend Grant Keller. He introduced me to him on accident as well. So, I kind of got an early network in Nashville the easy way, I guess you could say.
And that makes a big difference too. I
Yeah.
mean, and you say, you're grateful for the people, but also that tells something about you too, where you're able to make a good first impression, where they're like, yeah, I'll like rep this guy that's here.
Well, I
That
mean,
might,
yeah, it's also too is that I could hang out with these people and then not give me a thing. I think if you go there with the mindset of like, oh, I need something from these people, they got to give it to me, it's going to be a problem. But I don't care. In my mind, I'm going to make it no matter what. I'm going to stick to it. So he's a cool guy. I'm going to keep hanging out with him. Grant's a cool guy as well. Keep hanging out with him. Nothing that they don't do or do is going to change. Well, unless they do something really bad, but they're not going to, they can't sway that because they don't introduce me to somebody.